Joining me now, Democratic Senator Gary Peters of Michigan. He's the ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee. Senator Peters, we are looking at a major situation in this country that Washington has been slow to respond to. The president starting a couple of weeks ago talking about it was a hoax, then gradually coming toward the center of it, saying, well, it's something that we're trying to deal with, finally going to a national emergency. And he announced that yesterday, tweeted his support of a bill that was passed in the House. But you tweeted, quote, the Senate should be in session right now passing the critical package to combat coronavirus that the House approved last night. There's no reason to delay. We must provide relief to families and workers with paid sick leave and unemployment assistance and make testing free. End of quote of your text, of your tweet. Are you upset with Mitch McConnell, Senator?
I am. I mean, there's no reason that we are not in session right now. You mentioned at the beginning the slow response from the federal government has now created a bigger problem for us. And there's no question we should have been much more aggressive in testing, something I've been calling on from day one. The fact that we are not testing the way we should means it's difficult to deal with this crisis. It's difficult to understand who has it, who doesn't, where the hot spots are, where you need to put resources. Fundamentally, we have to deal with the disease as quickly as possible. And the reaction we've seen from this administration is a lot slower than from other countries like South Korea. But to your point, we have to remember that folks are going to be impacted in a significant way, not just from the disease, but from the economy. And those folks who can't work from home, who need to show up for work each and every day, that are put at risk and also will be feeling the brunt of this impact, we need to be sure that we're helping people. And that's why it's important that this legislation that passed through the House to deal with sick leave, to make sure folks who are unemployed because their businesses are shutting down still have the means to put food on the table, people that are able to get testing and not have to deal with co-pays. We need to make sure folks have health insurance coverage to deal with it. This can be a human catastrophe. We need to act now. We can't wait any longer.
So for our viewers to clearly understand, the bill last night that gave paid sick leave and does some of what you talked about, ensuring people to get the kind of services they need, has not been officially put into action because the Senate hasn't voted for it, because Mitch McConnell has not called the Senate in to vote on this matter. This is only House approved at this point.
That's right. We knew the House was moving very close on Friday, but basically, Mitch McConnell sent us all home. We're going to be back Monday at 5:30. I think I can speak for certainly all of my Democratic colleagues. We're happy to get on the plane. If we're not in Washington now, get there right now. Let's open up this session. Let's get this bill passed. And also, let's make sure that we're focusing on making sure more testing is available for everybody. That has to be on an expedited course right now.
Now, putting the politics or the partisan politics aside, because there were Republicans that voted in the House for this bill, how do you, as the ranking member of Homeland Security, how do you look at the whole course the president has taken, restricting travel from Europe? Then now he's added restricting travel from England and Ireland. I mean, what is the method that they're using to determine where they're restricting travel from? It just seems like to those of us outside of the Beltway that they're operating on whims, that there's no real evidence of why they're making these decisions.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. We think it was really curious that the United Kingdom was cut out of the first ban, particularly when you looked at the cases that were being reported. It was similar to what we're seeing in other European countries. In fact, there were a number of European countries that the ban was in place that had fewer cases than what you saw in the United Kingdom. So it didn't make sense. I think it sends a real confusing message, not just to Americans, but folks around the world that are looking to see how the United States is responding. That's why it needs to to be coordinated. We have to have all agencies speaking together. I'm frustrated often that different agencies seem to be putting out different messages. That adds to confusion. And when you have confusion, people become scared. And that's how you have more panic. We've got to settle folks down, understand that there is a coordinated plan that's moving forward. But then we have to demonstrate it. And we're not yet demonstrating that in terms of testing, which is absolutely essential. If you look at the South Koreans, they were able to put together an incredibly aggressive testing program, hundreds of thousands of folks tested. You're now seeing South Korea stabilizing the situation there and starting to move in a positive direction. And they had their first case about the same time we had the first case here in the United States, and that's where they are. And we're just now trying to ramp up. It's simply unacceptable. We need to be sure that we're focused on testing and making sure that people's lives are being disrupted in a major way, and putting some folks who are living on the edge already in a situation that they may not be able to make mortgage payments. They may not be able to cover some of the basic bills in life. This is a situation that requires immediate action. We've got to pass this bill as quickly as possible. But I think it's also important to say this bill is just one action to take. We're going to need to do much more in the weeks ahead and the months ahead.
All right, Michigan Senator Gary Peters, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope the president tweets that Mitch McConnell ought to call the Senate back immediately, since he tweeted his support of the bill.